Hey, so I wanted to make a video to share my experience with a hernia repair. Um, it's in my L5S1, which is the lower lumbar of my back. I had a microdiscectomy to repair this. So a little backstory of my injury. I wanted to make this video. One to kind of to share my journey with others, but also to give a little encouragement and hopefully a little bit of relief for those that are thinking about having the surgery or are going to be having surgery and they're just curious of what the process is like, what the pre-op is like, what the post-op is like, what the recovery is like. So I just a little backstory of my back injury. Um, about 2.5 years ago, I was at work moving some salt bags, bent wrong, and a couple days later, I felt sciatic nerve pain go down my right leg. So I was like, well, that's strange. I didn't know what was going on because I didn't really felt a little tightness in my back, but not terrible, but it was mostly down my leg. So that was rather concerning. I'd never felt that kind of pain before. So I went to my doctor, and he said, yeah, it looks like you have a slightly herniated disc. It's pressing on the nerve a little bit. Um, you know, let's just have you do physical therapy. So I did physical therapy for several months. It progressed. It got better, I should say, over time. And I ended up resuming back to work and didn't really have many more issues. And then about a year later, not quite a year later, I can't remember the exact time, I was being rather dumb and I was moving a log out of the way of a skid steer or bobcat, however you want to call it, to come through. And I was moving it and it was way too heavy to move. And I felt my whole back tighten up and stiffened up. So I went back to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you need to go get an MRI. So I went and got an MRI. Sure enough, herniated disc. But they still said, this is manageable. Let's go ahead and do physical therapy, but let's also do injections. So I did steroid injections. I did a set of three different injections. By the end of the third one, I felt the majority of the pain go away. The problem with injections is it doesn't really solve the problem. It just reduces inflammation around the nerve to reduce pain. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but the problem is I kept progressing in pain. And the other issues with injections is it gives you a false sense of healing. So you're like, oh, I don't feel any pain. So then you overwork yourself. So ended up this last Memorial Day, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was putting something in my wife's car and I bent wrong. And I was like, crap, that's not good. So I got another MRI, and they're like, yeah, it's bad this time. We need to have you come in. So I went and saw my back specialist. So this is what's not fun about back surgery stuff. It could take a while to get into the doc. It could take several weeks, and then several weeks later to have a surgery. So if you are in the process of like, do I go see a doctor? What do I do? Just know that you may be waiting several weeks before you are able to get some of these things accomplished. So I finally went in for my appointment, and she showed me my MRI. And she's like, you have a pretty significant herniated disc in the L5S1. That's right where the sciatic nerve is. Same areas that I've had it, but it's much larger in size. So she said, we can try to do steroid injections and physical therapy, but I recommend surgery. And I said, please, can we do surgery? I've had 2.5 years of this pain. She said, okay, well, let's schedule you for surgery. So I got scheduled for surgery. I actually got in rather quickly with the surgeon. About a week and a half later, I got in for surgery. So this is now day 2 past my surgery. So I'll tell you a little bit of just preparing for surgery. I went into my appointment. They laid me in a bed, gave me an IV fluid to kind of just keep me hydrated. It took a little minute to find a good vein spot. They gave me some different muscle relaxers and pain management through my IV to try to kind of calm me down a little bit. I was very, very pale going into surgery. And then I remember them rolling me back into the surgery room, and that's all I remember. I don't even remember them talking to me once I got in there. Next thing I know, I woke up, and I was in recovery room. And one thing I noticed right away is no more leg pain, no more of the sciatic nerve pain. Now I was like, well, it could have been, the steroid injection or the, all the medication that I had, all the anesthesia and all that. But I was just like, I could tell there's a difference there. And I've been told that you can wake up with virtually no more pain. My wife said that the doctor said they took, quote unquote, a large chunk out. So able to get that out, got me sewed up. So I got the micro discectomy, and it was about this long. My incision is, so it's about, I don't know, 1.5 inches or so in size. So then in recovery, they once I was awake enough and kind of getting out of some of that anesthesia, they rolled me back to a recovery room where I was able to start taking a little bit of Jello and juice and Sprite. And as I was getting out of my anesthesia, they were able to give me an actual meal. I got some breakfast. Was able to walk down the hall, no pain in the leg whatsoever. Just awesome. No pain in the leg whatsoever. Of course, but since I still had the local anesthesia, I didn't really feel much pain in my back. Felt like some tightness, a little bit of tightness, but nothing terrible. I would say the most challenging thing that I experienced at the time was learning how to get out of bed. What I would encourage anyone who's wanting to prepare for that, watch a video on log rolling. That's going to be your proper positioning of your body getting in and out of bed. You're going to want to make sure you keep your hips lined up with your core of your body. That way you're not bending weird and putting pressure on where your incision is. So learning how to do that properly is going to be key. It's going to be awkward for the first 24 hours because you're just learning how to do it, and then you're like, okay, where do I put my leg? How do I roll over? But once you learn how to do that, it becomes quite a bit easier. I was able to walk down the hall, and then once I felt comfortable to go home, I was able to go home. So a couple house tips. First of all, they had this water jug at the hospital, and they said, hey, if you want to take it home, you can. I highly recommend you take it home because when it's late at night, your muscles get a little tense. You're not wanting to get out of bed. You can actually kind of sit up, like lean your head forward and take a drink out of this without sitting up. I mean, you might end up burping because, not sitting up all the way may cause you to burp a little bit. But it is helpful for drinking when you're not moving too much. So if they offer you a little drink, a cup like that, I would take it home with you. The other thing that I would recommend is preparing your bed before your surgery. If you, like me, I have a king-size bed that's a little higher. So like getting against it, I have to kind of raise my leg a little bit to get into the bed. And it's also a softer mattress. You'll want to have a mattress that when you're sitting down, you're able to back up to it and sit down without going too low, but also not having to lift up to get onto the bed. And you want the mattress to have a little bit of cushion, but not very much. Because you want to have that support. So we ended up buying a box spring. It was like a $30 box spring to put under the mattress, and we got my daughter's mattress for now. So I'm just on a little twin-size bed next to our bed, and I'll probably be on that for several weeks as I'm in recovery. So another thing I recommend is a little grabber. My wife went to the dollar store, got two little hand grabbers, $1.50 a piece. You don't need to go buy all these big fancy ones that are $20, $50. Buy a little cheap one. You're not going to use it for very long. You'll use it for a few weeks, as long as you're maintaining your body. Something that's very important is that you keep mobile. You want to keep moving. Body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. So, which in my case, so backing up a little bit before surgery, about 3 weeks prior to my surgery, I was in so much pain that one day I was trying to get out of bed, and my sciatic nerve fired so bad I could not get comfortable. I tried to get back in bed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain." I ended up crawling. I ended up sleeping on the floor, and I ended up crawling everywhere I went for 3 weeks. It was awful. Could not get comfortable. So my body was very tense, and I wasn't very mobile. So if you have an experience like that before surgery where you're not very mobile, you may have this sense of like, not wanting to move continually, being kind of in that same mindset. Me, though, I wanted to be moving as soon as possible. I was tired of sitting still. Moving is good. My doctor recommended me going for about 4 walks a day. Tried to go for about 5-10 minutes. And then as the weeks progress, you can lengthen it a little bit longer. So I have a cul-de-sac over here, and what I do is I just kind of walk around the circle. The first day I walked around the circle of the cul-de-sac, just really carefully, just once with my wife, and then we walked back up the stairs, and I, gradually took steps back in the house. And then as you progress, you can take a couple more. Make sure you keep drinking fluids. One thing I also recommend is that you take some laxatives when you get home. I have still yet to have a bowel in that regard. And this is I had my surgery 3 days ago at about 11 a.m. And so this is my second day. So I'm still within that same period, but within an okay range. But they said if it gets beyond 4 days, that I need to call them and say, hey, I haven't had a bowel. So keep drinking fluids. Another thing too is, your diet's going to be a little weird. Probably not going to want like heavy foods. I was really hungry before my surgery. After my surgery, I just wanted like light meals. So they recommended don't have like steak and like heavy meals, stuff that's really chewy, because it'll be harder to digest. And when your body's recovering, your digestive system's not quite up to par. So I've taken several laxatives now. I think I'll be on that good side of that hopefully today. But yeah, no. So for now, right now, my pain level is I have nothing down the leg, no pain down the leg whatsoever. In fact, it's awesome. I'm able to like stretch my leg, and I'm like, this is so cool. I can actually stretch my leg, and I don't feel pain. One of the things I noticed is when you're recovering, if you've ever had like sciatic nerve pain for quite a while, you may find your shoulders hunching forward or in a weird position to try to counter the weight, so you're not putting as much pressure on that nerve. So you may have some muscle memory where your shoulders may still be tense and they may be up like this. So try to like go, okay, I need to relax my shoulders. Try to have a normal posture, normal stance. You shouldn't feel too much like major pain, just standing normal. A lot of it for me was just that muscle memory of the pain that I had. So learning how to just have normal posture, normal stance, normal walking. And then, yeah, so now it's just slow, gradual steps. It's easy to want to like run and be like, okay, I want to go back to normal. It's easy to feel that way, but it's important to just back yourself down and go, okay, I need to make sure I go slowly, take rest, take breaks. So right now I would say my pain level is probably this morning I woke up being day 2, probably about a 2 out of 5. Yesterday was probably not out of 5 out of 10. Yesterday was probably about a 1 out of 10, because my anesthesia was still wearing off a little bit. Today it's a little bit more tender in the incision area. They just glued it shut. They didn't actually use incisions, which is awesome. The healing time of that will be better. And I will also, there's not nearly the pain with moving, because when you have stitches, it tends to pull on the skin. So just having glue back there is awesome. What I saw is that the glue will wear off within 2-3 weeks. So at this point, I am 3 days since my surgery, doing well. I feel great. I'm trying to back off on medication. I did take they gave me muscle relaxants, and they also gave me some hydrocodone, which I was taking prior to my surgery. I'm trying to back off on that. Last night I took a hydrocodone when I like 3 a.m. because I did not sleep well last night. That's one thing I've noticed is my sleep has not been the greatest, and it's not even so much pain, it's just awkward sleeping. You know, you can't really lay the way you would normally lay. You have to either lay flat back with your pillow under your knees or on your side with your pillow between your legs. And so if you sleep differently, it's going to feel a little strange. But my biggest thing is I just couldn't get good sleep. My mind was racing on 1,000 things, nothing in particular. So I'm pretty tired today, which I think takes a toll on your body. And so, but other than that, just taking it nice and easy. At the 2-week mark, I go back to the doctor for them to look at my incision, see how that's healing, make sure there's no infection there. And then at the 6-week mark is when I go back to my surgeon for her to evaluate my progress, to see how I'm doing strength-wise, mobility, flexibility, comfort. And then if she feels that I am doing well enough, she may allow me to return to work with some restrictions. What those will be like, I have no idea. My assumption would be like a 10-pound, 15-pound weight limit. And then I may end up doing some physical therapy at that point. But at this point, they've told me no need for therapy, just focus on healing. So a couple things that I'm trying to do at home to help speed up the process is cans of soup. So I have 2 different weights of cans of soup. Like I have some smaller ones for my first day. I was just light movements here, because you got to engage your core to keep your body stable. So I was doing these cans of soup, kind of putting them on my head a little bit, and I do this a couple times a day to just try to, slowly build my strength up. I have a guitar that I play, so I was playing guitar for probably about an hour yesterday. So drink plenty of fluids, rest plenty, go for frequent walks. Don't sit too long in one spot, but don't overwork yourself. So kind of pace yourself. The way I'm trying to do it is about every 2 hours I go for a walk, 2-3 hours to go for a walk, and then like a walk outside, and then walk around the house. Then lay down for a little bit, rest for a little bit, not necessarily sleeping, but just relaxing my body. But I'm going to start backing off the medications slowly, and just take as needed. And so, yeah. But that's where I'm at for day 3 of my progress. We'll see how I'm doing. And I'll do another update in a couple weeks, kind of let people know how I'm doing. If you have any questions of what I'm going through, feel free to comment below, and then I can try to answer some of those questions that you have with my experience. Now remember, this is my personal experience, so if you're going through a similar procedure, know that your experience may be completely different. So don't take what I'm going through for your personal journey. Just know that's just some of what I'm personally going through. And just a couple of the tips of things that I would recommend. Some biggest things I recommend: that you have your bed set up prior to surgery. A good level, so that when you're able to sit down, you're able to sit down without going too low or having to lift too high to get onto the bed. not too hard, not too firm, but not too soft. They get a little grabber, that you have a flexible drinking cup, little things like that. And then, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. So, yep, if you have any questions about anything, if I can help one person, that'd be awesome. So, thanks for your time.